K-State fans have a new name to get used to as the Wildcats added a new player to their class of 2025 transfer portal commits on Wednesday with the addition of a linebacker from West Florida. We're going to talk about him in today's video. Before I do, quick reminder to hit that sub button. It takes a few seconds and helps me out immensely. At 3,000 subs, I'm getting that cat script tattoo on the left thigh, so be sure and help out as we close in on that 3,000 number. I appreciate all those who do. But folks, today's video, I'm going to dive right in and talk about the West Florida linebacker transfer Ralph Ortiz coming to Kansas State. He spent the previous 2 seasons as an Argonaut there in West Florida in the Sunshine State. He stands at 6'2", 200 pounds. And I'll talk about his stats, I'll talk about some rankings here and there, what I think the addition means for Kansas State. And as I do that, I'll toss up some of his highlights here now so you can see Ralph Ortiz as a ball player. And off the rip, I think when you hear his size, you hear 6'2", 200 pounds, you understand, okay, he's going to need to get in the weight room with Coach True, with some of the strength and conditioning staff and get that thing up because, you know, if you want to play Division I linebacker, you're going to have to add some pounds on that. That being said, I also do question whether they want him to be a linebacker or even transition to more of the safety room. I think it'll be a depth linebacker. I'm not lying about that. But let me read you his stats. I think there's some eye-popping numbers when you hear about his coverage stats that are stuff that it's really, really impressive to say the least. Ralph Ortiz was not announced on social media by himself, but multiple sources have confirmed his commitment to Kansas State. That group includes On3's Drew Galloway, Bosco's Boys, and ESP Zen. ESP Zen. Shout out to the Zen community out there. ESP Zen, so they all confirmed it. They said, hey, Ralph Ortiz is a Wildcat. He's heading to Manhattan, Kansas. It's another transfer portal pickup for K-State and one that is not ranked too highly in the eyes of national media dudes. That being said, when has Kansas State ever? I mean, we always seem to find these underranked, under-recruited dudes that can play ball, that can flat out play. West Florida, a Division II school coming to Kansas State. The first Division II player in the Chris Klieman era, if I'm not mistaken. There's been some FCS guys, there's been some JUCO guys, but as far as D2 goes, it's a cool thing to see. So D2 West Florida. Now let me jump in with this stat. So as a redshirt freshman, he spent 2 seasons with West Florida. I guess technically 3, but he redshirted his first year. So he's going to be a redshirt junior this season for Kansas State. As a redshirt freshman in 2023, he recorded 37 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 interceptions, and 7 pass breakups. That's from a linebacker spot. 7 pass breakups is pretty nutty. He also earned Defensive Freshman of the Year honors from the Gulf South Conference, or the GSC, And then as a sophomore, I'll add up his 2-year totals here in a sec, but as a sophomore, 49 total tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception, and was named to the first team All-Gulf South Conference. Now, I understand that Kansas State has added, Gabe Powers. They've added some different guys in the past that are projected to be really, really good players, but the linebacker spot hasn't quite delivered up to its standard in the transfer portal. Ralph Ortiz feels like a good, necessary add. Like, with Kansas State, the linebacker position has just been banged up year after year after year. You saw what happened when Deuce Green went down in back-to-back seasons, and that was heartbreaking. Where did Kansas State go from there? They had to add and develop guys. Austin Moore's a guy that, worked his tail off, developed into a star player, really had a great thing for Kansas State for his 6-year career. But now the times are changing. Obviously, Gabe Powers is going to be a day 1 starter at that will linebacker spot, or Sam linebacker. Maybe I'm mixing these two up. But either way, I think Gabe Powers is going to be a day 1 starter alongside Austin Romaine and Des Purnell. But Ralph Ortiz is a guy with some ability. He's got some ability to play just about any position you need him to. 6'2", 200 pounds. A guy can either jump into a coverage spot more, or he can get up there. I mean, you see the ball skills he shows in this highlight video. You see him getting to the quarterback, tackling running backs in the backfield, guarding dudes on screens out wide. His biggest asset is his speed. I don't think that's, something I'll be crazy for saying, but his 2-year total at West Florida, 79 total tackles, 15.5 tackles for loss. That is a ton. 4.5 sacks, 4 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, and 7 passes defense. One of those picks being for 6. Had a pick 6 in his career. On3 has him rated currently in the transfer portal as of right now as the 1,610th best player available and the 145th ranked player at his position. Now, I get that people will say, well, that's not very good. You're doing XYZ thing, you're doing this. Guys, I'm tired of the numbers nationally. I don't really care about it at this point. Does Kansas State like him? I like him. I'm in. I got to tell you what, Chris Klieman has done nothing but solidify his eye for recruiting, for development, for guys that say, okay, I can go be a Division I type player. We know the success they've had in the secondary with some of the JUCO guys and some of the D1, lower group of 5 type D1 dudes, FCS dudes. You see the ability that they have in their scouts, their development team, whoever's responsible for finding these dudes, they continue to hit it out of the park. Ralph Ortiz feels like another one that can play and help out immediately. That being said, I do think he's going to be one where it's like, hey, it's an emergency, in case of emergency, break the glass. Does that mean he won't start? Does that mean he won't surprise some people? Absolutely not. I'm not trying to say that, but he definitely feels like one that is set to be okay. God forbid any of the 3 linebackers get hurt, he can jump in. Okay, you need some time. Give, Austin Romaine a second. get Ralph Ortiz out there. Okay, Gabe Powers needs a second, get him out there. Get Des Purnell off the field, get him here, do whatever. He feels like a guy that can jump in at any spot if you need him to, but also has the speed and the ability to play as a coverage type dude. Conveniently, very, very similar in stature to Jaden Rowe, who's a mix of a safety cornerback. I think Oklahoma at one point tried to use him as a defensive end. So there's just a lot of variety here. He's got a lot of variety to him, but overall, I've got no issue with the ad. I think it's a great thing to see. You're shoring up depth. You still have to get to that 105 number. I know that Kansas State's around 127, 128 right now, so there will be quiet cuts. I mean, it's not going to be as simple as like, we've decided to part ways with this guy. You'll just see some other dudes hit the portal, to go to smaller schools, bigger schools if the case is. But Ralph Ortiz is a guy they felt like they need. I'm all for it. For those of you that might think about it, well, it's kind of strange that he didn't announce his commitment officially. I mean, that's what happened with Dante Cephas. You had some people that did it. Gunnar Maldonado didn't announce his commitment for about a month and a half after committing to Kansas State, whatever the case was. But you just see some of those dudes do it their own way. They're not about the big flashy commitments. They're about playing ball, getting after it, going to work. Some dudes don't do it the bright lights, flashy way of I have to have a huge commitment, announce this. This is one that just kind of went under the table. He's confirmed to be enrolled at Kansas State, and he's going to be a Wildcat. He's got K-State in his bio on Instagram, so be sure and check out Ralph Ortiz. But guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Short and sweet, just wanted to talk about the newest edition, and I'll talk to you here probably tomorrow about the K-State basketball game. Win or lose, I feel like there's going to be some stuff we can talk about regardless, but that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you all for the support, and I will talk to you soon. Go Cats!